It's Monday evening, and you know what that means. It's the Cook's Landscape Group Cup Series with SIM500 here at Atlanta tonight. I'm Sean Fitz. Welcome aboard alongside Kevin England. Bringing you the broadcast here on Turn 1. Kevin, it looks like it's going to be an interesting overcast here tonight under the lights of this Cup Series action in Atlanta. Talk to me through about what you've heard from these drivers. Are they ready for this super speedway race?
These races are always unpredictable. You have the draft, you have the speed, you have the cutthroat corners displays, high line, low line, pitting, green flag pit stops, the mix. Just the fact that we're looking at the funny weather here. It's twilight at Atlanta and a little bit of a mist over the racetrack, and the light is different. And it's one of those things where the dark of this racetrack, due to the repave, makes it complicated to see in good lighting. So all kinds of challenging conditions for these drivers tonight as they come to the green.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony Calatoni, Jason Pick, Tyler Dalton, Joe Hudson, Justin Fuller, your top five as they get ready to go green flag racing here at Atlanta. Actually, it looks like we're going to get another lap under caution, so that'll give us a chance to run down the field here just a little bit as that pace car is going to come by the stripe. And there it is. The pace car lights are off. So, Kevin, looks like we got Wesley Donaldson, Kevin DeBrown, Chad Coleman, Eric Arnold, and David Schildhouse in the top 10.
Yeah, Eric Arnold was having a time in practice as they got things going here. And right behind him, Jose Gonzalez was having a lot of fun. Paul Crumright, Doy Woods, Cody Harris, Kyle Trudeau, Stoney Bedfield, and the stack here. This is a track that's unpredictable. So from that standpoint, Jason Pick got a top 10 last time we were back here in the February timeframe. So I just don't know how to call this race other than we're just going to sit and watch how it unfolds.
It's going to unfold. It's going to do something. And you're along for the ride here on Turn 1 here tonight. Again, really happy to have you all with us. A 2-week break coming to a conclusion here with this group. And Kevin, that obviously, that break, that moment to step aside was really nice. We had the Independence 500 and had a really good race there. And now tonight, a whole different style of racing, but all just the same in these Cup cars. We've heard a lot of these drivers talk about aero being a critical factor. I think we're going to see it rear its head again here tonight.
Yeah, this is almost the start of the second half of the season for these drivers. They're going to start at a track where every one of them thinks they could win. And as the pace car peels off, they're looking for victory to start. As it is not a clean start on the outside. Jason Pick slips a little bit. They stack up behind as a couple cars starting from pit road. But nonetheless, they head off through turn 1 and out to turn 2 for lap number 1.
Anthony Calatoni on the lead, Tyler Dalton, Justin Fuller, Chad Coleman, Eric Arnold, your top 5 as they come down the backstretch, getting up to speed here in Atlanta. This racetrack races a lot differently than what it used to. You heard Kevin mention that repave, and it brings up, it's got a very much a mini Talladega, mini Daytona feeling to it. A lot of drafting, a lot of big runs as the top 5 single filed out as they come across the stripe, and it's going to very much race like a super speedway. Drafting and needing a partner to go up front here is going to be critical for the success tonight.
Yeah, drivers are going to try and figure out which is the lane. Typically, the high side, when you get together in this racetrack, will be the one that you're going to make progress because they're stacked down on the bottom of the red line, bumper to bumper, nose to nose, and You look to your outside, you'll see the car come down, side draft you. And if you want to make hay, you got to go to the top side. Dare I say, 3 wide is possible at this racetrack, although not advisable.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that last night at Kansas as well in the ARCA cars for the Sunday Night Surge Series here on Turn 1. And it's very much a different car, but all the same principles apply. Tyler Dalton just looked to the outside of the 84 of Anthony Calatoni. It's good to see the 84 of Anthony Calatoni up front here, starting on the pole here tonight and controlling the race so far. This is a driver who has a lot of talent, but we talked a lot about him throughout the early part of the year on the SIM500 side of things. But man, he's had a tough break as of late, not been able to really pull off a decent finish.
Yeah, it has not been the year Anthony is looking for. I know that he was happy to start up front tonight and thinks he has a shot at this. And again, I think that break let everybody kind of reassess what they're going to do for this season. And for Anthony Calatoni, this is a great way to run to the march. Start out front, lead laps. You got Anthony Calatoni, who's a quasi teammate to Tyler Dalton, who's sitting back there, and the two of them look content to run nose to tail right now. As the driver who looks a little racy is the 38 of Chad Coleman. He's sitting there in 4th.
Yeah, Chad Coleman, he's up 5 spots on the night so far and able to take advantage of that start that just did not materialize very well on that high line. And speaking of that high line, still not really moved or recovered, I would say, from that kind of stumbled start. And they are right now kind of hanging on for the ride back there. About 6th place or so is when you start to see those 2x2. Again, this track's going to be really racy here in terms of draft and whatnot, as Kevin alluded to. Right there on the bottom of this racetrack, you see everybody nose to tail there. Kevin, I've not turned a whole lot of laps here from a Cup Series perspective, but it certainly looks like this racetrack, the bottom is where you need to be. What kind of runs? Have you spent some time here in the car, and what does that run on the outside look like? You mentioned some side draft being a factor.
Yeah, the draft here is incredible. You come down that backstretch and you're basically dragging the brake or running quarter throttle, half throttle going in. You enter into the corner right up on the bumper of the car in front of you. When you come off the corner and step on the gas, sometimes the car wants to step out. It'll yaw out on the exit of the corner. Gives you a floating sensation on the exit of the corner. You really have to be careful as to how it goes. We'll see drivers slip, especially off turn 2, and slide down to the apron trying to catch it. As there's bumps down there in turn 1 and 2, you'll see the car sparks dragging from the undercarriage as they roll through there. And in the top lane, when you get the run, the draft will let you push the car in front of you, and you could make a run on the top if you're brave enough. But I'll tell you, you look at these cars go around here, they look somewhat stable, but when you're in the car, it's almost like flying a kite. It goes left, it goes right, it goes left, it goes right. It never feels like you're just driving down the road, so to speak. And these drivers up on the wheel every single lap for 130 laps.
Speaking of that draft, that's the 97 of Jeff Hollingsworth. I believe he started, the 13 of Jeff Hollingsworth, whatever number's on the car there. He's getting started here tonight. I think he started in the pits. So you see him, he's right there following right behind the 84 of Anthony Calatoni. He is a lap down, but able to latch on to the bumper of the leader oftentimes once you kind of get back into that draft. You're able to pick that speed right back up, and that has kind of brought that outside line to fruition. That and Tyler Dalton moving up there and leading that outside line. That's Justin Fuller, Jose Gonzalez, and Chad Coleman in that top 5 group, all now trying to bide position here as we see Tyler Dalton move down to that bottom line to get clear again and chase down the leader, Anthony Calatoni, as they head off into 1.
A mid-sized track that races like a super speedway, you'll see some of these drivers just kind of hang out back, try to miss the big one. Your winner from the spring, David Schildhouse, he was up in the mix somewhere and then kind of dropped back a little bit. Now tucked down on that bottom line. He's running right there in that 19th, 20th position. Robert Fryery III gets a little loose out of turn 4 right in front of him, and that makes you pucker. Well, every lap you see something that you wonder if it's going to trigger the big one.
And, Kevin, one of the biggest things I talk about in each and every super speedway race I have the opportunity to is you've got to be there at the end to win. And these drivers here tonight, as you mentioned, they've got to hang on for all 130 laps as we're lap number 12 into 130 here tonight for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series on turn 1. And I tell you what, this so far, this race is a little challenging. These conditions, you see it on your screen, how difficult it is to see. Well, they're in the car seeing the same thing. That fog or that overcast, hazy look is starting to lift. The lights are coming on here, and the track is already cooled down. So what they've got is these cars they've got to try to hang on to here and make them make sense for up to probably about a 50 lap or so green flag run on fuel. Right now, Calatoni leads as they come back down to the stripe. And Kevin, you talked about that draft. We see Hollingsworth up there. How much is he playing a factor of trying to stay in the lead lap and latching onto the bumper there? How easy it is to get that lap back at places like this and potentially even put yourself back into a decent finishing position when having to start in the pits?
Yeah, for Hollingsworth, his job is to just stay put, try and wait till that caution comes and get out of there and be the first one out in front of everybody who's a lap down. And he can ride pretty comfortably and know that the chaos is probably going to happen behind him. So the number one job for Jeff at this point is just hang on to that top car. Don't let it get away and just wait. I think, the tradition for this racetrack, the farther we go, the more chance we have for caution. So he just has to ride this out.
You see that right there riding. He is just riding in the tire tracks of Calatoni. We talked about Coleman just a moment ago. Well, he's advanced forward. Actually, Tyler Dalton has slid back. He's on that outside line. Eric Arnold's there as well. But Dalton leading the charge on that outside line. And, we've seen Tyler really be quick each and every week. If we don't mention him once or twice on the broadcast, it's typically for a really good reason. But Tyler, one of those drivers, hunting for a solid finish here tonight in the Cup Series. And these races here at these super speedway-esque or the Daytonas, the Talladegas, and Atlanta now, is a really good equalizer. We saw that for the Independence 500 and any other super speedway races here, but ultimately, anybody in this field could bring home the checkered flag after it's all said and done. It's just as much a little bit of talent as it is luck, and right now Tyler Dalton's holding on for the ride on that outside line and falling back to fifth.
Yeah, the WBD diecast car looked a little bouncy through the bumps over there as he's got Joe Hudson down to the bottom, and he's got a good pusher and a consistent driver in Jose Gonzalez right there behind him. And I'll tell you, there's a driver to keep your eye on at this type of racetrack. It's that 92 GT Haviland Ford of Doy Woods, currently running in the 8th position. Doy knows how to get the job done, and when he's got a shot at victory, he's going to stand on it. Right now, he's currently hanging in the back of that top 10 and having a good run early here in Atlanta.
They come across the stripe to complete lap 19 of 130 here tonight under the lights. Atlanta, I tell you what, this racetrack is so different than what it used to be. It used to be so abrasive and tire wearing, and now it just races completely different. We'll have to see over the years if that changes with this repave or if we're going to keep to this same and similar type of racing. It is slightly different, Kevin, and again, I believe you got some time in the car here, but ultimately, they're not bump drafting. They're not like nose to tail really tight on one another, at least not right now. Is that something that you think is going to amp up through the night, or is that, do you expect to see this little bit of gap, maybe half a car, or is this just everybody keeping it cool here in the first starting laps of the race?
Yeah, push comes to shove later in the race, you're going to get to the bumper of the car in front of you and try and propel them forward and make a hole for yourself. Right now, I think these drivers are riding. It's so complicated when you're running right on top of each other, sitting in the car, down in the seat, looking out the windshield just over the dashboard. At a spoiler right in front of you, you have to trust the car in front of you is not running up on the car in front of them. And so right now, drivers are patient. They'll understand the gap and the momentum and the ebb and flow of how the cars run, but later, as the action amps up, you can imagine that these drivers will close those gaps and take advantage of any opportunity that shows up. That's how you're going to get a win here at, let's call it Echo Park, because that's actually the new name, at Echo Park. And I think right now drivers are content. They're only 22 laps in of 130. It's a long race, and you got to have what you said earlier, a clean race car to get yourself to the win.
Speaking of the 84, they're talking Giants. Chevrolet Cantoni has led all of them so far here tonight, 22 laps in. Let's take a moment and right on board with our leader of the 84. We've talked about a couple times here tonight how difficult it can be to wheel these machines. Well, let's do it. Let's see in person how difficult it is as we ride on board the 84.
Yeah, one of the things you'll notice, he's not running right down on the white line. That gives him the opportunity to turn down in the corner, not put so much pressure on the car. Tire wear, not really a factor at this place, but the car does yaw out coming up off the corner and let it come down. You want to try and avoid the aprons as you go through what we'll call is the front straight. It's not really straight, obviously, being a quad oval, but you know, a lot of these drivers will line up the bar in the windshield, the support bars, with the red line and know where they're going to place the car when they turn into the corner and as they roll around here, because you can't see the left side wheels, so you're trying to figure out how to get down to that red line without clipping the apron, which will really unsettle the car. For the view, for Anthony Cantoni, one of the things that he has going for him is out his windshield he sees two cars, Jeff Hollingsworth and Paul Crumry out in front of him. I wonder what he's thinking as he's going to catch them, as we've got a caution. Jason Pick in the 53 in trouble over off of turn 2.
Yeah, it looks like Ron Holyfield involved in that as well, as Stephen Miles is slowed down on the apron. And this is going to be the first caution of the night. Several cars I show involved in this. Let's go back here and take a look with Jason Pick. He's the first car on the incident counter and find out what may have happened there with the 53. Coming across that start-finish line on the high side there. Jason may have actually had some help, and it comes up and then the track kind of clears itself. That was a big incident there in turn 1. Cars really blocked the track for a little while there. Jason Pitt, Kevin DeBrown, Mark Jorgensen, Patrick Colby, Doug Roth, DeAndre Kane, Stephen Miles, Cody Harris, and others involved. Kevin, we were talking about the need to stay clean early, but this is unfortunately going to take out some fast machines.
No doubt. He went into the corner and it almost looked like he was a little late on turning in, and when he started to turn the car down, it broke loose and came sideways. Unfortunately, Wesley Donaldson, no place to go. The two made contact. There'll be some debate whether there was some contact ahead of that, but whatever the case, the 95 looked like he was going to get through that, Cody Harris, and then unfortunately he got nicked right at the end, and when he turned sideways to block the racetrack over there, it was game on.
Yeah, and we see everybody electing to take this opportunity to come down pit road, and Jose Gonzalez is going to be the fastest off pit road. Joe Hudson, Justin Fuller, the Cantoni now. He was able to take advantage of that top box, but unfortunately had a little bit of a longer pit stop. Also looks like Jose Gonzalez may have been a fuel only, just 8 seconds in the box. We're going to step aside. We'll re-rack him when we come back. Under caution for the first time here at Echo Park. You're watching Turn 1. Talked about it right there before the break, and Jose Gonzalez, Joe Hudson on the front row as they get ready to go back. Green flag racing here on lap number 29 of 130. Then it's Anthony Calatoni, Justin Fuller, Eric Arnold, Chad Coleman, Kyle Trudell, Doy Woods, Tyler Dalton, and who is that? The 2 car, Robert Fredetti, going to be in the top 10. Speaking of these fast drivers kind of marred back here, we see David Shieldhouse. Last night was looking for a really strong finish at Kansas, and the ARCA car couldn't get it done at the very last. The last 2 laps were a wild show, and Shieldhouse, unfortunately, not able to get back up there in time. But tonight, he's sitting 12th. Hello to all the children watching turn 1 here tonight.
Tell you, just watching through what happened over there, it was bedlam, and one of the cars that did an outstanding job at trying to keep the car clean was the 81 of Josh Parker. He got sideways over there. He dodged left, dodged right, and then all of a sudden had to just crank the car, slid down to a stop, and other than the 4 Goodyears, no harm came of the Irish Spring number 81. He's able to run again with no damage. Quite a few drivers took some licks, but everybody's back running again as we're green here on lap 29, and Jose Gonzalez is going to lead Justin Fuller, Joe Hudson, Anthony Calatoni, and Chad Coleman is the top 5.
They roll through the corner here, getting back up to speed. It's going to take a lap or 2, but something you see completely different here. This restart, pretty much the entire top 15 was single file down the backstretch, at least for a moment there. A couple are going to make a liar out of me. That's the 20 of Shieldhouse and Tyler Dalton on that outside line. They're pretty much the only ones out there at the moment. This will be a true test to see what that outside line can do as Gonzalez led coming across the stripe there. Now, keep in mind, Gonzalez took fuel only, it looks like. From a timing perspective, he's only in the box about 8.5 seconds or so. Everybody else behind him took tires, it looks like, as Tyler Dalton and David Shieldhouse starting to make hay on that outside line as they roll out of 4.
Yeah, drivers get 4 sets of tires in this race, and you know, we said before, tires not that much of a factor. You can run quite a distance and not really have an impact, but at some point, especially at the end of the race, bolting on a fresh set of Goodyears will give you the ultimate grip and let you grip and let you cut left, cut right, and give you the security you want to make the move. So I'm sure that these drivers are going to meter their tires and make sure that if they can guess, they'll bolt on the freshest tires closest to the end of the race to see if they can get a win. Is the 91 on pit road, and the 53 was down there for a considerable amount of damage, but other than that, everybody else was able to carry through onto the lead lap. Ron Hollifield, David Comstock also 1 lap down here as damage from that first incident. Working lap number 32 here in Echo Park.
And out front, Gonzalez maintaining control. Another driver that's found a home right there on that white line. And keep in mind that out of line, that white line there is out of bounds here, just like it is at Talladega and Daytona. You don't want to go down there on the backstretch. There could be opportunity for somebody to look to the inside, but unless you're forced down there, it is a no-go zone for these drivers. So that is often a great place to kind of protect and manage. But Gonzalez being right there, as we talked about it, kind of putting the car and aiming the car precisely right down to the bottom. He doesn't want anybody to get a nose underneath him, as we see that outside line really not come to fruition. As a matter of fact, it looks like Tyler Dalton is he's back there now. Him and Shieldhouse has cycled all the way back to 10th and 12th. So not a whole lot of momentum coming to fruition on that outside line coming down the backstretch here on lap number 34. Still very early, over 90 laps remaining in tonight's race here for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series, brought to you by SIM500. But I tell you what, we've seen it happen at that first caution. This incident, the big one or another big one, could happen anywhere. Kevin, in your experience as a driver, where do you want to be? Do you want to be on the front leading the point? Or do you want to be towards the rear where you have maybe enough time to potentially check up and stay out of danger?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes.
That's
either in the front, out front of it all, or in the back, hanging off just off the draft, and give yourself as much time as possible to avoid whatever happens in front of you. You're safer out front, theoretically, as when you're out back, you can't stop these cars on a dime at this racetrack. You're just carrying too much speed. They've got too much inertia. But from that standpoint, you can do yourself quite a bit of service if you're on that lower line down in the back. You also have to be careful at this racetrack not to lose the draft. So some of these drivers that are hanging on the back of the pack, they need to be a little bit careful. You can drop back some and still sniff a little of the draft and drive back up to it, but you can lose the draft here, and it is so terrible to ride around here by yourself.
And we saw Doy Woods actually try to take it to the outside and lead that effort to pull Tyler Dalton forward, but Woods found a way to tuck back in after losing a couple of spots on the bottom. He cycled back to 11th. I'm really surprised, Kevin, the outside line has just not materialized here yet. Again, it could be very early in this race, and I suspect that will be the case, but you know, I think if we would have seen the likes of Tyler Dalton have the ability to get up here, maybe even Schildhouse or Fuller, some of these other guys, if that outside line was just as quick, we may have seen them already. Oh, they're big wrecking out of 2.
Oh, that was a huge hit we saw down on the bottom. And they're still crashing back there.
And we see the 24 there, Stephen Miles across the track. And that is going to be another big wreck here on the outside of turn number 2 on lap number 39. Let's take a look here. Mike Montesi. Looks like he was involved in this, as well as Kevin DeBrow, Jeff Ryan, Doug Sigmund. Now Stephen Miles again. Let's take a look.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that, the problem for the 4 got turned. That is not going to be a popular conversation out in the racetrack, as a couple hits ping-ponging off each other over there. The 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr., not the night he wanted. He was involved in that crash and unfortunately unable to continue the first crash. He's 12 laps down and out of the race. And it would have been an opportunity for him to get ahead of some of these drivers that just crashed potentially. But, you know, we talked to him previously, Sean. He was trying to find his way in the point championship. He's currently 11th in the standings. He's got to win. He's got a bunch of top 5s, but when it goes bad for him, it's catastrophic. And tonight he's going to be 43rd as we see a massive amount of activity down here on pit road as caution number 2 here at Echo Park.
Yeah, we see a bunch of drivers down here. This it looks like Jose Gonzalez, Joe Hudson, Chad Coleman, and all elected to stay out, while drivers like Doy Woods, Justin Fuller, Eric Arnold, all came down pit road. Alan Wild did. He had a great night last night, worked his way into a top 3 finish in Kansas. Stoney Benfield also came down pit road. Brian Macklin, David Schildhouse, all hitting or taking the opportunity to take service here. This is going to cycle out. This is going to put a lot of drivers kind of back towards the rear of the field that maybe have not been quite that far back tonight. Again, Alan Wild, Stoney Benfield, David Schildhouse is going to restart 22nd. It's going to be interesting to see how this all materializes out if we get a longer green flag run. Right now, Jose Gonzalez on the point, and he's leading under the second caution here tonight on lap 40. You're watching Turn 1. Coming back live here on lap number 41, and Kevin, a little bit of investigative work happening under caution. What did you find?
We're just looking at the cause of that incident, trying to figure out whether there was contact. We know that there are storms going across the United States, especially the eastern seaboard. Drivers sometimes see a little bit of connection problem as they race, but in the case of that one, Mike Montesi up on the highline came down to try and find a hole, and Cody Harris was there. He thought maybe the hole was big enough, but it doesn't look like it, and Mike Montesi claiming uh, claiming the cause on that one. These drivers have a rule in the league that if they cause the caution, they will admit to causing the caution and they will have to start in the back. And there's penalties for starting from pit road or driving through or some of that stuff, depending on how the league administers the penalties after the event. But that one claimed by Mike Montesi in the number 4. And we're going to go back to green and they'll race again. Here is 26 is still out front with Joe Hudson running in second. Chad Coleman, Kyle Trudeau. Good to see Kyle back racing with us again, and Cal and Tony still sitting there in the top 5.
Out front, Jose Gonzalez. He elected to stay out this pit cycle. Pretty much everybody in the top 10, top 15 or so stayed out under that caution. And that has paid dividends for track position, which so far appears to be pretty critical. Keep in mind, Anthony Calatoni, he started back on the pole tonight, led a good portion of the first 25 or so laps. Now he is stuck back there. He's actually on that outside line, hasn't had a place to tuck in yet. He's actually falling through the field, sitting in 7th, but was restarted 5th on that last caution. So definitely track position a factor here as Gonzalez leads them coming down the backstretch, nose to tail, maybe picking up a little bit, as they like to say, as Coleman has found himself into the 2nd spot as they come down the front stretch and across the start finish line.
Yeah, new player in that top 10 is Thomas George, the Sirius XM Ford Mustang, sitting there in the 7th position right now. He's made his way through from the back of the pack and just kind of riding right now, keeping his nose clean. As I see a couple, whoa, that was a moment there as the 84 talk about closing the gap. Very similar to the 4 situation, went in and made the hole, but holy cow, he could have skimmed the front bumper. As that was a tight move getting down to the bottom. These drivers know, Sean, that bottom's the place to be right now. You don't want to get stuck out top. You'll be freight train. You see the red and white car up on the high side. That would be the, well, who's that back there? I'll catch it as soon as my
Talking about the 29 there, Paul Crumry. Is
yeah, Paul Crumry. I just can't seem to get my focus on him, but you can see he's just dropping back. He was in the top 5, top 10, and now he's back to 15th as Schildos slips by, and he'll be back there in 20th by the time he gets this thing settled.
Just like that, the entire top 10 is single filed out. We saw Justin Trudeau, or sorry, Kyle Trudeau, not Justin, Kyle Trudeau, poked his nose on the outside just a little bit, maybe to get a little bit more of a run and cool that car off just a smidge, but ultimately electing to stay in line behind Coleman. We also see, who is this on that outside line, and they're also starting to go backwards. Is that that is the 6. We were just talking about him. He is certainly trying to find a spot to tuck down. It's almost like a much bigger version of the issues you have at Martinsville. Once you're off that bottom line, it's going to be really hard to find a spot to get back to. And right now, we're seeing drivers kind of use that as the exit lane. Maybe you don't want to play around up at the front. You want to go to the back and try to run a little safer. You jump in that outside line, and you're going to go backwards pretty quick so far here tonight at Echo Park.
Yeah, George did go back to 20th, and that also, you know, what happens is you run on the bottom. You're trying to judge where you can stay tight to the car in front of you, and every once in a while you get such a run you can't get the car wound up. You don't want to plow into the car in front of you, and you jump out to the outside, and then you're a sitting duck. We see the 81 of Josh Parker out there right now, but he's got space to come back in line. As they're single file all the way back through the top 15. Thomas George has now come back to 14th, but he ended up back in that 20th slot after that slide. And you know, looking through this pack here, there's a couple drivers that are playing possum, I think. I see Richard Beasley in the 10th time ride, always a stout driver here at the racetracks that follow this. Also the 30 of Brian Macklin. He's a multi-time winner at Daytona in the season opener, and he's kind of riding around in the back, just letting the laps click off before he gets himself into the mix.
And it looks like they all maybe got a little scattered out just in front of this group. I think that's, who is that? That is Randy Oak, and Josh Parker is now taking the top spot on that outside line. Thomas George is up there as well. Maybe Josh trying to figure out what he's got up there. As we also see just a little bit further back or further forward, the 51 of Justin Fuller. Now he's stuck up there a little bit. We saw him running, I believe, in the top 3, top 4. Now Justin Fuller is falling back to 7th as they come down the backstretch. And I think, Kevin, that's just a perfect example of the run's not materializing, or to your point, the car gets a little imbalanced as they're 2 or 3 wide back here, and ultimately having to check up and losing your spot in the Congo line.
Yeah, and Fuller, the veteran, he knows when to push and when to yield. And, starting to put together a mounted charge in the second half of the season. He feels like it's going to be his. He's got 2 wins on the season. He's sitting second in points, 44 markers behind David Schildhouse, who has 9 wins. But I think it would be easy to see Justin Fuller click off a couple wins and put his name, cement his name into the championship hunt here tonight. As I'm watching some of these cars out here in the back start to get formed on that high side. One of them, Jeff Ryan, the 44. Typically we see Jeff in the 3. He's in that top line, and the Conga out in front of him is about 8 car lengths, but every time he comes down the backstretch, the draft sucks him up so much and he just drives by 2 or 3 cars, even though that car is damaged. The back of the Mountain Dew Camaro is caved in. So weird to see Jeff not in a number 3 car, but that high line draft is starting to be apparent for him as he's going to go up there and join in what's going on to the high side.
Yeah, speaking of that high line, Fuller now is at the point. Josh Parker right there on his bumper. Fuller sliding up the racetrack. That car looks like it got a little snap tight on corner entry, but Parker behind him slowed up to not run fully into him there. As we look back up front, that's Jose Gonzalez on the point. He's taking advantage of a little bit of pit strategy and on the point here with Chad Coleman. And Nelson Rivera has worked his way up. That's not a bad move here for the 22. He's up 16 spots on the night, sitting 4th. Last down pit road on that lap 26. Speaking of, fun fact, Kevin, not a single driver that pit on lap 39 has made it all the way up to the top 10 just yet. That just shows you that this track position may be a bigger factor than we initially thought here tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit hard to pass if that top side doesn't get organized, because you're certainly not going to drive around drivers from the bottom. But right now, still, we're not even too halfway at this point. These drivers know there's plenty of time. When we get to the second half of the race, and especially with 50 to go, it'll be go time. You'll see drivers cut and slash it, making moves. Right now, I think some of them are content to just put themselves in position. 2 drivers probably working together, the 49 of Joe Hudson and the 9 of Bobby Wetzel sitting there in that top 10 slot, just kind of riding. And Hudson, a top 10 finish last time we were here at Atlanta, likes this racetrack and has a little something for him. And I would love to see Joe Hudson sneak away a win. I think they'll tear the grandstand down.
Very possible, very, very possible. Hudson has been surprisingly quick in these Cup cars as of late. Oh, as they actually get checked up a little bit. Who was that just behind our pole sitter? Everybody kind of bunched up that bottom lane just a little bit on corner entry, but either way, still a long way to go here tonight at Echo Park, and these drivers just jockeying around trying to figure out what feels good and what doesn't. Oh, there's Josh Parker back here. Justin Fuller 3 wide. They nearly make contact coming off of 4. Fuller's on the outside. He's just trying to let everybody roll by him as he's going to start to slide way back through the field.
Yeah, as we look through, we have 35 cars on the lead lap. Jared Livingston running 35th, right behind Ryan Workman and Doug Sigmund. 2 cars are 2 laps down. David Comstock and DeAndre Kane. So they would like to see a rash of cautions to get themselves back in the mix. Jason Pick involved in that incident number 2. He's 6 laps down, and Wesley Donaldson did repair the car and is out there riding around just trying to get whatever finish he can from attrition as he's 9 laps down, as Speaking of, we're going to have a caution on the racetrack.
Caution out again here on lap 60. Oh, wow. Yeah, actually, you know what? Speaking of, looks like Doug Sigmund and a couple others may be involved in this. A pretty big incident down there towards the tail end of the straightaway. See the 75 of Stony Benfield trying to get that car back rolling. Let's take a look and find out what happened. I showed Doug Roth, Josh Parker involved in this, Randy Yoakum. This may involve a lot of these fast drivers up here.
Yeah, we saw them running 3 wide, and this was a pretty big incident. We saw a couple of significant hits. Specifically, you see the 31 was almost airbound. That just looks like the 81 got loose. The 10 went in and got nosed in. The 51 got some damage. And you could see it was a parking lot back there on the backstretch. Has some pretty big hits down to the inside wall.
Looks like Josh Parker, Thomas George kicking this off here on that outside line. We saw how unstable that could be. Oh, yeah, the 81 had a big twitch there. That didn't involve George at all. He just had nowhere to go, and then it just cleaned house there. And that's going to affect, again, a lot of very fast drivers here tonight. Richard Beasley was involved in that. Paul Cummerai, Alan Wild, Cody Harris, Brian Macklin, Thomas George, Benfield, Arnold Woods, Sigmund involved, Wesley Donaldson. Man, that is unfortunately going to take out a good chunk of drivers, or at least put a hamper on their night, as we see pit stops happening right now on the front stretch.
Man, there were some huge hits back there, especially for the 31. He just made a left-hand turn to miss the 81 who was sitting sideways, and he absolutely clobbered the wall. I can imagine that that's significant damage, may not be able to return. We were just talking about Wesley Donaldson being multiple laps down. Well, now, there's a couple of cars that may not make it back into this event. Wesley Donaldson can leapfrog them and gain a couple positions to try and salvage something out of the night. What this doesn't help is David Comstock, because some of these drivers are going to be 1 lap down, and Comstock's 2 laps down. He's going to end up sitting back there trying to wait for the cautions to mount to see if he can get himself back into a green flag situation.
Yeah, you see him sitting out there right now waiting for the wave around opportunity. Speaking of being up front, Bobby Wetzel, Tyler Dalton, David Shieldhouse elected to not come down, or they came down pit road rather, but it looks like it was a fuel-only stop. So flipping the strategies just a little bit, the next driver on tires is Jose Gonzalez. Kyle Trudell looks like also a full service for him. Coleman, Rivera, Calatoni, Hudson, and Robert Freddie going to bring out be in your top 10. It's going to be interesting to see how this track position plays out for these drivers up front. Again, Bobby Wetzel has not really been up here flirting in the top 3 much tonight, was riding around, now found himself in first place. Tyler Dalton and David Shieldhouse up there for the first time as well. So we'll see if that track position comes to play in the ultimate finish here tonight at Echo Park.
Well, we were having this conversation earlier, which is the better place to be, out front or out behind, and clearly out front was the place to be on that one, because the second half of the field locked it down. Doug Sigmund was one of the ones out in the back, and he just kind of got on the binders. The Pro Systems brakes car didn't stop very well, as we talk about. That's the characteristic when you're carrying so much speed. And he bounced off a couple things, but he's able to drive through and keep it going. But yeah, some significant hits, and one for the 51, Justin Fuller, who was all intent purposes hunting for a win here today. Now he's going to nurse a little bit of damage on that car.
Another interesting move here. Kevin Bobby Wetzel is going to be the control car. He's going to start on the outside. Tyler Dalton on the inside. Jose Gonzalez, David Shieldhouse, and Chad Coleman get him rolling as they go back. Green flag racing here. Lap number 64. And Wetzel. That was, I don't know what that move was. Maybe a little bit of coordination with the 19, but here comes Gonzalez on the outside. The 38's right in tow with him. That's Chad Coleman making moves on the outside. The first time we've seen that second lane really come into battle, and they're clear of Wetzel.
Yeah, it almost looked like that was an orchestrated move to control the restart. Now Wetzel has a teammate behind him in the 19 of Tyler Dalton, giving him the push. bottom line is going to prevail. So for Wetzel, mission accomplished. He was able to lead the lap going across the stripe as they've got David Schildhouse behind him, and the top line spread out a little bit. I think the bottom line is going to prevail as this continues on.
Yeah, it looked like that outside line was fairly organized there. They were really tight on one another, but now they have really come apart, and that's going to be problematic for Gonzalez and Coleman. These drivers, again, been running up front for a strong so far here tonight, leveraging some track position, or sorry, some pit strategy to get the track position. Ultimately had to come down and take those tires, and now they're going to lose a little bit of speed, but here comes Wetzel on the bottom. He's got Tyler Dalton with him. David Schildhouse, it also looks like the 7 car. He's up 13 spots on the night, settled into 4th, and Anthony Calatoni, our pole sitter, has found himself back into the top 5 as Gonzalez is going to take advantage of an opening there on the bottom, or at least I thought he was. Though, yeah, he definitely had the opportunity. Now the 2 is going to shut the door.
Yeah, better part of Ella there, just trying to make sure that he's safe. He does see a little bit of help back there on that high side and hasn't totally broken up. One of the cars out there is the Voodoo Graphics and Design livery SIM500 car of Stephen Miles. Haven't talked about him in the number 24 Camaro tonight. He's running down in the top 10. He had a little bit of extracurricular activity, and you know, I want to point out that the complexion of this race has changed, Sean. When you look at it, we see all these cars here in this top group, but they've split up. You got this front group back to the number 25 of Hollifield, and then you got a group led by Stoney Benfield, and then you got a third group way off. As the leaders go into turn 3, that team is coming off of turn 2, so you don't have that big, massive mix of cars in the stack. And it is possible that if this front group gets organized, they could drive away. And one other footnote, the 81 sitting in pit road getting damage fixed. Seems like the significant hit for Josh Parker means he's not going to be in the mix tonight for the win.
Yeah, Josh Parker, we've heard him. He's a very passionate driver in the 81 and really wants to be up here competing at a high level. That car getting a little twitchy down in the corner, and unfortunately can't make contact with that outside wall and brought out that caution. Out front, Bobby Wetzel continues to lead. Tyler Dalton, Schildhouse, really the top 5 unchanged, with Calatoni sitting in 5th. Gonzalez still riding around that outside line. Coleman there on his bumper, but underneath him is Nelson Rivera. Joe Hudson's out there as well. As we talked about, Stephen Miles, another driver who has been at the top of the field many times across the ARCA and Cup Series here in the SIM500 this season. And was sideways down the backstretch, maybe a little bit of damage on that car, but making it look pretty good sitting there in 9th. I'll tell you what, one driver I'm really impressed with here is the 7 car. He's up 13 spots on the night, Kevin, running 4th at the moment, and kind of just mounting his P's and Q's as we see Jose Gonzalez start to mount a charge on that outside line.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to show up here and race and become competitive when you're just a periodic driver. Kyle Trudell, we haven't seen him on a weekly basis, but when he does come, he's always in the mix and just quietly keeps himself out of trouble and, you know, doing okay. Another driver hanging in there, the Purple Heart Homes Camaro of Charles Woods. He's back there in 18th off the back of this lead pack, as it looks like that second group, I think, with Stoney Benfield is getting a little bit of the draft from that front group. I'm not sure if they're able to close in. Stoney is, you know, he could see him out the windshield, but just a little bit too far. He's got the 93 right behind him. For them to make hay, they need to be bumper to bumper to bumper all the way through.
Yeah, sitting just 2 seconds back off the bumper of the 25. That second group, they're trying to stay relevant here. This racetrack here in Atlanta is very much a super speedway, a short super speedway, and that the draft is a big factor as we see a little bit of excitement back here. And that inside line got checked up. It also looks like Gonzalez again has found some momentum and making a charge on the outside. He's got Coleman, Miles, and the 45 out there as well, and it looks like it's starting to pick up here at Echo Park.
Yeah, that top line has gotten a little more organized. Now, one of the things we'll see as they proceed is you see how far apart the cars are. There's 2, 3, 4 car lengths widths in between them as they go down. But when they get in this corner later in the race, you'll see the drivers on the top come down right against the door and drag the car underneath them using aerodynamics back. They'll dump the air on the spoiler of the car and be able to surge ahead as they come up off the corner. Right now, everybody kind of staying up high in that high side, but you'll see the squeeze later in the race, and that top line getting a little more organized. They don't have as many cars, but that checkup situation, Sean, that we talk about where all the drivers have to let off at the bottom line because they just run out of racetrack by the end of the straightaway with the draft. The top is unencumbered. They could probably just be flat-footed all the way around, and they tend to inch their way forward, although right now, top line not as organized as they were a moment ago. They're starting to slip back.
Well, we can definitely see that the potential there for the first time tonight here on lap number 77, well past the halfway point of tonight's Cook's Landscape Group Cup Series right here for SIM500 on turn 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Fitz alongside Kevin England, and I tell you what, it's been an interesting one so far here. We started gloomy conditions. It was foggy, overcast, really difficult to see, but that fog is now lifted. The lights are on. It is fully sunset here, and we're under the lights. And I'll tell you what, it's really starting to get racy here as they roll through turn 3 and 4 down the front stretch. And again, that big run on that outside line starting to come to fruition. That's Gonzalez with a head of steam alongside our leader, Bobby Wetzel. He's got about a 6-car, 7-car pack behind him on the push, and all of a sudden, here comes that outside line becoming a factor here. And wow, it looks like, Kevin, that outside line actually, when they come into the corner, those cars get tight. We see some of them kind of drifting up as Gonzalez and Coleman are nearly going to push them past Bobby Wetzel across the line here.
Yeah, Gonzalez led that lap, and I thought for sure when the two of them got clear, they might go down and cover that bottom line, but they look content to stay up there as Wetzel with a big push down the back straightaway. Yeah, this is going to get rather interesting. They found their drafting partners. I found my moving buddy up there on that top line, and I guess they weren't looking to, lose them, and well, now they're going to come down. Stephen Miles able to join in with them, and he's now going to be the driver at the point on the top line. And coming back to that second group, we got to update the status of that. Stoney Benfield was leading. The 93 of Kevin DeBrown was running behind him. Off of turn 2, they had an incident. The 93 got in the back bumper of Benfield, turned him sideways. He slid down, slapped the left side against the wall, and unfortunately for Stoney, no caution. He was able to continue on, but he lost that group, and the 93 has just ducked out. Now the 43 is leading that pack, and the second group is a clear 4 or 5 seconds back. So that second group not going to reel in that first group like we thought.
Yeah, and it looks like Gonzalez is going to start chewing into that gap that Benfield has. It's going to deteriorate quickly here without that draft. With Coleman just behind him, Stephen Miles, Bobby Wetzel's fallen back to 4th, Tyler Dalton, David Shieldhouse, Kyle Trudell is down to 7th now, Anthony Calatoni, Richard Beasley. He was involved in that incident just a little while ago. He's up 26 spots on the 9th, sitting 9th. And again, it is interesting. That outside line came up with a hurry here off the lead of the 26th. Now, it doesn't look like they have a well-organized effort, and everybody back down to the bottom of the racetrack as they come across the stripe to take lap 83. So, Kevin, I think if we take a look here, last pit stops for some of these drivers, lap 61 or so, I think that still leaves them probably about 10, 15, 20 laps shy on a full fuel run. And this is turning into a decent green flag green flag run so far. If we don't see a caution, how critical is it to have that drafted buddy when you come down pit road?
I mean, certainly these drivers know this type of race dynamic requires you to have friends. You don't want to go onto pit road and not come off with somebody behind you to help in the draft. You need to get a clean entry into your pit box. You'll determine whether you can take 4 tires. Most of them know they can take 2 and pack it full of fuel. tires not much, but you know, if you could take 2, you're going to do it. The thing that concerns me most is exit off of the racetrack here at Echo Park is off of turn 3. Drivers have to remember they have to get down to speed, get down to the apron, and come off the racetrack and carry speed all the way to the yellow cone at the head of pit road. So this is not something that drivers are used to. It's an okay thing to do, but we do sometimes see drivers mess that up, and Stony Benfield's going to go a lap down because of that incident before the 26 rolls on past.
Yeah, as Gonzalez quickly moves by, and the single file here is going to help these drivers make quick work of that. And Kevin, I want to highlight that point too. Not only do you have the pit road entries in a different place here tonight, but you've also got to keep in mind that that apron is going to feel drastically different than the racetrack will. There could be rubber down there and a bunch of debris, so it's going to not feel the same. You got to get checked up, but to your point, you've also got to keep the momentum up and continue all the way around and to get down to pit road speed, all while trying to maintain position. So if we see those green flag stops come to fruition, it's going to be an interesting ride.
Tell you, Gonzalez has had a strong run here tonight. Valentoni led the first 25, then it was 38 laps out front for Gonzalez. Bobby Wetzel was at the point for 16. Now it's Gonzalez back out front again, and he just seems to have unlocked the formula to get that car out front and lead laps here, and they're content to follow him. He's got a strong mount tonight at Echo Park.
He does, and he was the only driver so far able to make a lead change on the nose. Actually, I believe that was the first green flag run lead change, at least on that outside line, not a restart involved. And Gonzalez kind of has him settled in under cruise control, under thumb here in that 26 as we circle down to turn 3. And lap number 88 of 130 as we start to see those laps continue to tick down, coming up to what, 42 to go. And now things, I mentioned, we saw a little bit of a moment, an uprising where that outside line started to get a little feisty, had some energy and made those moves and settled back in. We're pretty much single file all the way back here to Doy Woods. And Woods is sitting 18th at the moment, and really it's just one car on that outside line. Looks like that's the 46 actually of Troy Haight going backwards. Maybe that's a move to get out of the drama or get prepared to come down pit road, one of the two, but he also came down on 61, so that's an interesting move to see the 46 shuffle on back to basically the last car in the sleep pack.
Yeah, Troy's been hanging on that high side just about every lap. He's been comfortable up there. I don't know if he likes riding in behind some drivers just don't. They don't want to do that. They don't want to be locked in that line, conga line, as so to speak. And it is really, I have to say, especially as the tire wear comes on, uncomfortable off up the corner. You're in the draft, sometimes the car gets the run at the wrong time, the air doesn't come on. We were talking earlier about how sometimes the drivers peak out of line. It could be to cool the engine off. It could also be to get some air on the nose of the car so that the front wheels will push into the racetrack, get a little more pressure on the nose to help the car turn. Because I'll tell you, sometimes you come up off the corner at this racetrack, you'll do it 10 times in a row, and the 11th time the car will just out slide the nose, and it becomes very disconcerting. So these drivers hunting for grip as much as they can while trying to keep their foot planted to the floorboard.
Riding on board here with the 20 of David Schildhouse, sitting right behind Tyler Dalton. This is for 6th place. Schildhouse just in cruise control mode. We've seen him kind of front to back around the field tonight. He is currently sitting 4 spots up, so he started 11th, and started 10th rather, and just kind of settled in here. Again, no point in pushing the issue. We talked about it at the top of the broadcast. You got to be there to bring home the checkered flag, and right now, David Schildhouse is just in cruise control, following off the bumper of the 19 as they roll off into 1.
Yeah, and all intent and purposes, it doesn't matter where you ride in the middle of the race. It's the last lap that counts, but the 26 is having an outstanding night. It's been a weird season for Jose. As he's got a 5th at Pocono, coming off a good way to come into the break. He's got a 4th at Charlotte. He's got a 4th at Martinsville, an 8th at Daytona to open. But other than that, the season really hasn't been much. And unfortunately, he's just been in the scrum. It feels like his season has always been a mix of getting caught up in other people's stuff. And he's got a strong enough race car on most nights. The Goya car really is fast, especially on the long run when you get to those racetracks where you got to take care of your tires. And for whatever reason, luck has just not gone his way. But maybe tonight's where he breaks the streak and gets himself the first victory in the 2025 season.
Certainly looks like that's a possibility as they come down the backstretch, lap number 95, working by some lap traffic. And we starting to see these leaders do a little bit of something different on corner entry, and this may be a sign of these cars, the tire wear coming into play, but also just as important, the fuel starting to wear out on these cars, so obviously taking weight off the rear end. We see the top three enter a little higher off into 3 and 4 the last couple times. We'll see if we can follow it here again. That's Coleman and Miles along with Gonzalez all kind of driving through the higher end of the corner. As they're not going to do it this time, but as we see Miles offsetting Coleman there. Again, trying to find a little bit of an advantage, maybe find a little bit of speed, a little bit of comfort in these cars as the handling conditions continue to change in what looks to be just about the longest green flag run we've had so far tonight here as they roll off into turn 1.
Tell you drivers having a quietly good night is the 15th running Alan Wild, the Clad's Gaving Corner number 17. You gotta love a car that has a large controller painted on the side of the car. He's just running his laps right now, staying out of trouble and having a solid run. Like to see him get a top 10. Alan Wild, he's here supporting the league each and every week as one of the regular drivers, and it's always this type of racetrack where you could root for that type of driver to maybe get the best finish of the season, and he's having a solid run here in the top 20.
Alan Wild had a great night last night at Kansas and ultimately put him in deep championship contention on the Sunday Night Surge Series here on turn 1. Was able to bring home, I believe that was a P2 finish or a P3, either way. And that all boiled down to a little bit of last lap chaos there at Kansas, and Alan Wild able to capitalize. Again, running 15th right now, but that's up 13 spots on the night, and looking to have another solid finish here tonight at Echo Park. Out front, Gonzalez continues to dominate with Coleman, Miles, Wetzel, and Dalton your top 5. And then it's Schildhouse, Trudell, Calatone, Beasley, Freddie, your top 10. Looking back here through Kevin and talking about these lead lap cars, it looks like Brian Wortman's the first driver, the last driver on the lead lap. And again, we have that kind of 5-car group and then another big group here as well. How critical would it be for these drivers? Obviously, these runs are hard to get, a lot of damage involved. How much of a factor they could come here with a late race caution, maybe take 2 tires or fuel only and potentially kind of upset this top pack? How much of that could be a factor, especially tonight where we see that this bottom line seems to be pretty dominant?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident these drivers know that if they have to go to pit road, they're going to be there the shortest amount of time. If it's a green flag pit stop, just pack the thing full of fuel to get me to the finish and off I go. No tires. You got to have a clean entry and exit. And you know, we talked about how complicated it is to get off the racetrack here. Is the 13 has mixed everything up, and that has cost Jose Gonzalez. Gonzalez slips out, and Chad Coleman's going to go to the P1 position for the first time here tonight. As 26 didn't successfully navigate around the 13 of David Comstock, and now he's in that outside lane. It's almost like going to the penalty box, Sean.
It is, and I tell you what, that was a very interesting move. I didn't want to interrupt you there, but Gonzalez, I think, assumed everybody was going to follow the leader there and work their way around. We saw that with some other lap traffic, but no. Coleman elected to stay to the bumper of the 13, and that paid off when we saw the 13 be a disruptor here in the lead just a little while ago as well. And now you're seeing that Gonzalez, he has fallen hard through the field all the way back to 11th right now. And really nobody out there to support him. This is not the break the 26 wanted to see here tonight to ultimately try to be up front and to win this thing, as we have coming across the stripe to take 104. Throwing a lap car was kind of the disruptor of that, but more importantly, really, everybody's now learned if you got a lap car in front of you, you've got to worry about the drivers behind you, and that being a factor here at play at Echo Park.
Yeah, I think for Coleman, he's also probably in the channel with the 13 who begged him to not put him another lap down as he's trying to do something to revive the race if a caution comes out. And so it's a benefit to both of them. But for Jose, I'm sure that smart's just a little bit. It's like somebody tearing off a Band-Aid.
Especially under these green flag conditions and a pit stop most likely needed before the end of this thing. I tell you what, we saw Jose capitalize on pit strategy and take advantage of the track position, but that was under caution. I don't know if we're going to see the same benefits, but if anybody can pull it off, I'm sure it'll be the 26. Meanwhile, Coleman, the control car, he's in the lead. The 13 a lap down, but actually Coleman now using the 13 as a tow. And actually, this could benefit Coleman and others with this gas mileage now that they've got the 13 out front. It looks like last time down pit road for Comstock was lap number 94. So he's got enough fuel to go the rest of the way. Maybe this tow is going to help these drivers maybe stretch that fuel just a little bit further and hope for a caution flag to come out, maybe say 10 or 15 to go.
And for Comstock, he's just trying to get to the point where he could possibly be someone who could do a wave around because he's still 2 laps down. Right now, Stoney Benfield, 1 lap down, running in the 30th position, running in the Lucky Dog. He and Paul Crumrye are 1 lap down. Then DeAndre Kane, David Comstock, 2 laps down. So, yeah, we'll see how this plays out. That big crash that we saw just a little while ago didn't really take any cars out other than the 81. But if you look at it, that is something that allowed Wesley Donaldson to get around and pick up a couple positions. We know that, you know, poor Wesley was involved in that incident. Car looks destroyed still, but out there going around, and he's picked up a couple points by staying out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and you know, obviously these types of races can breed cautions. We've seen it here tonight, and ultimately, it can still happen once again. Donaldson cruising around 35th, looking to try to pick up every spot he possibly can with 22 laps to go here tonight for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series. On turn 1 again, Sean Fitz alongside Kevin England as we're closing in on 21 to go. It is Chad Coleman out front leading some of his first laps of the night. Stephen Miles, Bobby Wetzel, Tyler Dalton, David Schildhouse, your top 5. Anthony Calatoni, our pole sitter, currently sitting 7th. He's memorable to talk about there. Then that driver back behind him, the 10 of Richard Beasley. He's up 27 spots on the night. He's our biggest come-and-goer of the evening. Looking pretty sharp in that 10 Tide car. Not having a bad night. Involved, again, like I mentioned, in some of this chaos that brought out the cautions, but ultimately making it look like you're showing that a little bit of persistence can pay off and riding around in the top 10 as they come to the front stretch to take 20 to go here in Atlanta.
Tell you, one of the drivers that stands to benefit here tonight could possibly pull himself down a win and help himself in the championship hunt is the 24 of Stephen Miles, currently running in that 2nd position. He's looking at the scoreboard, and I'm sure the spotter told him that Justin Fuller was involved in one of those incidents. Justin's still out there riding around, but 16 laps down. So from a point championship run, as much as Justin ran top 5 the first half of this race, it is not going to be a result he wants, but playing into the hands of Stephen Miles.
That 24 car looking pretty sharp there, sitting 2nd. And Kevin, that brings me to a question as we get down to 19 to go. If you're one of these drivers who need a solid point tonight, maybe you need a win even to solidify yourself and make a big gain in those standings, and you've got a driver like Chad Coleman off your nose, coming to that last lap, obviously there's a lot of give, there's a lot of take in these super speedway races, but when it comes down to it, it's all take. What do you do if you're sitting in the 24 seat, nobody else around, it's single file, and you come to the start-finish line and you get to the bumper of Coleman as you roll into 1?
Yeah, I mean, first off, you know who's in front of you and how hard it is to move. It's difficult to move a car out of the way. You have to weigh the fact that if you get into them, they might take you with them. and all of the work you did for the night would be gone. I guess you have to look at the devil on the one shoulder and the angel on the other one and decide which one you're going to listen to, because there's really no good answer. It's in the moment you make your decision, you take your choice, you clean them out, you bump them, you move them up, like we saw earlier this season. The Schildhouse car did it, and there wasn't a happy moment there, but he got himself the win. So it is possible to do, but it's hard to say which one of. You never know until you get to that position, and then you figure out who you are.
Right, we see, I will say the 24s, we hear him talking really often about, making some mistakes or explaining some of the situations he finds himself in, as any fast driver will find themselves in incidences where some things can come into question. But ultimately, I don't think Stephen Miles himself, we're under caution here with 16 to go. Looking around on the track, it looks like it involved Paul Crumry. And he is slow down the backstretch. Let's see if we can find out exactly what happened here to bring out this caution. Crumry running back in that slower pack of cars. Oh, he was leading that pack even.
Probably a bump going bad.
Yeah, it looks like he was offset the 93, and the 93 just drove him off sideways. Single car sideways down the backstretch. Really no harm, no foul there, but I'm sure Crumry would have preferred not to have had that happen with so few laps remaining in tonight's race.
Yeah, it looks very reminiscent of the Stoney Benfield incident, but unfortunately for Benfield, he made contact with that left side wall. Crumry able to lock it down, and it's feeding time at the zoo. These drivers are going to come in, and we'll see. Are they going to take 4? Are they going to take 2? Will tires make a difference? This is the final time these drivers will come down to pit road.
Yeah, very surprised to see Chad Coleman out front. He's going to stay out. So is the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. Actually, Jose, I'm not sure what he's doing there. But either way, Chad Coleman looks to be the car out front, and he is going to stay out. Again, running order trying to be worked out here. Gonzalez way out front of the field. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Joe Hudson also electing to stay out. That's going to restart him third. And then it's the 7, the 2, the 24, the 22, the 9 of Wetzel, the 19 of Tyler Dalton, and Stoney Benfield, speaking of, sitting 9th right now as pit stop's getting wrapped up. We're going to step aside for just a moment and bring you all the way to the checkered flag. You're watching Turn 1. Getting ready to go back green flag racing here with 12 laps to go. And we do have 3 drivers staying out. That's Coleman, Hudson, and Gonzalez. Pretty much everybody behind him took 4 tires and fuel. And Kevin, they must feel like, A, they've got enough fuel, and B, that their tires are going to be enough to get them all the way through here. But it sounds like the rest of the field does not have that same confidence. This could get really spicy up here at the front at the end.
Yeah, there were 2 pit calls that I wanted to see what they were going to go, what direction they were going. One of them is Tyler Dalton, who's famous for taking 2 tires to get himself track position to the end. It was 4 tires and fuel. Same thing for David Schildhouse, who won this race in the spring as the pace car pulls left. they're going to have 4 field goods to bring them to the finish, as it is Coleman, Hudson, Gonzalez, Trudell, and Fiery the third. Green is out. We're running back down, and now, oh my gosh, it's going to get just crazy.
That outside line does not get rolling. And unfortunately, that's going to check everybody up, and they're going to turn right across the field.
Hudson around, and there goes
Shieldhouse
hard into the wall, collecting another car. 46 of Hayes sideways, the 8 of Randy Yoakum trying to take evasive action. As, yeah, you could just see that coming. And I see significant damage for a couple of these cars.
Yeah, that was unfortunately, again, one of those situations. That was the outside checking up. I believe, who was that out there? Was that... Take a look. You know what, let's just do this. It may have been Joe Hudson, Kevin. It looks like he tried to get clear down on that bottom line. He knew that restart was not good. And they roll it up onto one here, and oh, he may have had a little bit of help there. He gets tagged again, unfortunately, but ultimately there, Hudson. A little bit of a rough restart leads to caution here at Atlanta as we close in on 10 to go at Echo Park for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series here on turn 1. Well, that is going to shake some things out, and Chad Coleman looks like he is going to continue to stay out, take advantage of that track position. Jose Gonzalez is as well. But I tell you what, Kevin, we talk about interesting pit calls, the 2 coming down pit road here.
Yeah, he's destroyed. The left front's been dragging on the racetrack. We see the sparks behind the race car as he pulls in. Unfortunately, that bad luck horseshoe is just absolutely not going away for the 2. He can't get the car in his pit box. There he goes. As the 2 left side is totally destroyed. And Friery, he's going to have quite a long stay, I believe, in there. And, well, we talked about Bedlam, and here we are. Within 10 to go, these drivers are going to take no quarter. They'll be all take and no give at this point, as you're really just going to fight and white knuckle brawl all the way through to the end of this race to see if you can get yourself a win.
And it's the tale of 2 strategies here. Chad Coleman and Jose Gonzalez again taking advantage of a pit strategy call and staying out. That's what got Gonzalez to the point a little while ago, and unfortunately made a little slip up on track and lost a bunch of track position, but now electing to stay out. Last on pit road, lap 61. He is going to start on the outside of Chad Coleman, and then everybody behind him is going to have those clean tires, clean and newer tires, and that's certainly going to play an effect here, as I believe we'll go back racing with 8 to go. If you like what you see here on turn 1, this is the SIM500 group. And you see them on Monday and Sunday nights here on Turn 1. And if you want to join up with this group, I strongly recommend exploring sim500.com. They've got leagues that run, I think they run 5 nights a week or so. And the competitive racing up and down this group always impresses. You see some great racing. It doesn't matter if it's the ARCA car, the Xfinity car, the Cup machines, all the way across the board. Some competitive racing, like-minded drivers, and everybody just having a passion to race clean and have a good time. Head on over to sim500.com for more information and check it out and potentially get registered to come run and be seen live right here on Turn 1. The pace car lights are off and we get ready to go back green flag racing here. It's going to be Coleman, Gonzalez, Trudell, Miles, Rivera, Dalton, Calatoni, Hollingsworth, and the 97 is recovered well. Richard Beasley's 9th, and Alan Wild in the top 10 as they get ready to go back green flag here, is coming down the backstretch. Maybe tightening those belts and putting that proverbial helmet on a little, kind of cinching it down a little bit, getting ready to put on a show here under the lights at Echo Park.
Yeah, if you're in the top 12 here, you got that nervous energy, you could possibly get a win here. One of the drivers that took a beating in that crash was David Shieldhouse. He just about beat the pace car out that time. He was our winner back here in the spring. Don't know if he can go back-to-back with the damage he has, as it looks like it's going to be settled by out front. I don't know Sean, if we're done seeing the yellow flag here tonight, pace car makes the left-hand turn, gives it to Chad Coleman, who comes to the Echo Park restart zone and hammers down. They're off to turn number 1.
Green flag back out here, and that's 8 laps to go. Gonzalez a little slow to get rolling. Miles behind him is going to duck down to that inside. Another incident where that outside line just goes nowhere. Gonzalez now, he has got a parachute out the back of that car, moving backwards fast, and he's running out of places to tuck in. Meanwhile, up front, though, a big run off the nose of Stephen Miles is the 7 of Kyle Trudell.
One up in the fence, the 10 of Richard Beasley just bounced the right side out of turn number 3 and 4. He was able to gather it up. We stay green, but as soon as you say that, incident up front, yellow.
Coleman.
Chad Coleman against the fence.
And Stephen Miles also involved. That is going to be a big upset on this front row. And again, those tire strategies playing differently. I also show Alan Wild impacted. Let's first take a look at the 38 of Chad Coleman. He was in a top spot and doing well here tonight in Atlanta. Let's see what happened. Oh, Coleman upset the car down on the apron, and then him and Miles come together the same spot of the racetrack, right at the start-finish line. And that is really, really unfortunate. I don't know how much of that, Kevin, was upsetting the 38 or just the 24 kind of underestimating the swing down. Either way, those two finding each other here on the front stretch.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you hit that apron down there on the bottom, it propels the car out. It just looks like when he came off, it hit the apron and he came up just a little bit. And yeah, hard to say where the contact came from, but Chad Coleman, who led a good majority of this race, now has a crumpled snap-on tool.
He sure does. And, he keeps finding a way. I'm really, really surprised at the run the 26 has had here tonight. He's been in kind of had some adversity the last couple restarts, and the pit strategies played out for him, but that last restart looked like it was going to be the end of the 26's night. Somehow finds his way into the 3rd place spot. That's actually going to start him on the inside of row number 2. Maybe a little bit of a better opportunity there for the 26. And I tell you what, Gonzalez, he can't count him out just yet. Another driver I would not count out is the 84 of Anthony Calatoni, our pole sitter here tonight. He led the first 25 or so laps. Again, had a little bit of an issue in the box tonight in that first caution and lost a bunch of track positions, but kept that 84 pretty clean and ready to go back. Green flag racing here in just a lap or two to potentially bring home the checkered flag from Echo Park.
Yeah, and unfortunately for some of these drivers, the end of the race means that they're still trying to get their damage fixed. The 9 was down on pit road, 38, of course, being involved in the incident. Now the 24, who ran in the top of the mix, is down there on pit road. The 20 still getting the hammer out for the Schildhouse car. And, wow, I'll tell you, this is the way this race ends up. Where did the 22 come from? Have we said his name at all tonight?
We have, but it's been very, very rare. That's Nelson Rivera. He's going to start on the outside of row 1. And he was floating back there around 7th or 8th for a little while. Now, all of a sudden, the 22 car out front on the outside of that row number 1. Going to be interesting if those newer tires are going to play a factor into this restart. Last down pit road, lap 116. So we'll pay close attention to that. Tyler Dalton is up there. And, oh, by the way, Kevin, Doy Woods right now sitting 6th, who talked about that 92 car making a run here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the strategy is to be there. You know that the top guys are going to be on top of each other and crash themselves out. And if you're sitting there, like I said, somewhere in the top 12, you think you've got a shot at winning this thing. And you do. It's the way, I don't know that you're going to win from 12th, but sometimes the complexion of the race puts you right in the catbird seat. And, well, we're not done yet. I don't know. We still have 5 to go. There's plenty of time as the pace car peels off. And we have two new players at the front, Trudeau and Rivera. They come through the Echo Park restart zone, and green is out. We're back racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
That 22 getting a decent start on the outside. Calatoni's going to move to the inside. The 7, again, we won't call him a part-time driver, but certainly around here for the first time in a while, leading it when it matters most towards the end of this race here tonight at Echo Park. And I tell you what, he's got the 84 glued tight to the bumper. Calatoni, again, as I want to mention, our pole sitter here tonight, looking like he's not done running up here in this front pack. As they come across the stripe, 3 to go. Calatoni offsetting a little bit. He's now going to look to the outside of Trudell. Nobody's going to go with him, but that's going to bring the 10 up with the draft. And all of a sudden, that side draft maybe starting to play a factor. And here comes the outside line as they come out of 2.
26 of Gonzalez looked out, decided to cut back in line, didn't like what was going on the outside. So did Kevin DeBrown, who's now, again, back in the top 10. Now you're starting to see the charts. These drivers are playing bumper cars back there as yellow is out. We got cars heading down pit road trying to get on for the action as 8 up against the wall. So is... Who is that car sitting there? I don't recognize it.
That's the Extreme Machine. That's not Jeff Ryan. Not sure who that is either. Potentially Charles Woods? No?
Yeah, it's the 90 DeAndre Kane.
And that is going to bring another caution out here, and this is going to put us in the NASCAR overtime. We'll talk about that, but first let's take a look here at this replay and find out what may have brought this caution out here with just 3 laps remaining. Free and clear. Oh, this actually happened in front of him. The 13 takes evasive maneuvers. Yeah, that actually started up there with Kane involved. He was turned around. Maybe him and Charles Woods made some contact here. Let's take another look. Kane, Fuller gets into the wall in front of him, and then, Kane gets wiped out by the 98 there. And unfortunately just had nowhere to go. Everything swept to the top of the racetrack, and that is going to bring the caution out here once again. So, NASCAR overtime. We're headed to it. And Kyle Trudell, Jose Gonzalez, Anthony Calatoni, your top 3. We're going to step aside, catch our breaths, and you should catch yours as well. It's about to be mayhem at Echo Park. You're watching Turn 1. These drivers have the 1 to go signal from the tower. The pace car lights are off as we're headed to NASCAR overtime. They're going to come around here and see the green flag. If they make it all the way back around to the white flag, it'll be a race to the checker. If, for whatever reason, we see a caution come out before we see the white flag, we'll re-rack it and try it again. We'll get 2 attempts at this tonight. This is going to be the first one. And Kyle Trudell, Jose Gonzalez, Anthony Calatoni, Tyler Dalton, Richard Beasley, all looking for this to go very smooth here for an opportunity to bring home the checkered flag here tonight. Pace car heading off into 3, and this is, as Kevin talked about just a little while ago, the give and take is all out the window. It's all take. There's no friendships, no partnerships. We've not seen that outside line be a huge factor here tonight, but now it's just use what you've got and hopefully be there in a competition for that top spot. You see that white flag wave next time by. The pace car is going to head down pit road. Trudell, Gonzalez, your front row. Old tires versus new, and the green flag's back out. NASCAR overtime at Echo Park underway.
Outstanding start by the top two. Trudell gets away. He's got Cal Tony shoving him down on the low line. There is Mr. Speedway. It is the 10, Richard Beasley. He's going to cut to the high side. Now comes back down. And he's going to get muscled out by the 19 of Tyler Dalton. You could write a story about every one of these cars in the top 10 wanting a win. We don't have a winner in this top 10, I don't think, this season. So whoever wins, it's going to be a first as we come down across the stripe. Trudell shows up rarely, but shows up well, and he's trying to get the win. Look at it, they're 3 wide to the high side with Schildhouse pushing.
Yeah, what a wild run. That outside line starting to materialize. They're wrecking back behind him, but we're going to go all the way back around. Kyle Trudell, Anthony Calatoni, the 10 on the outside. Gonzalez is going to try to make it 3 wide. Oh no, Calatoni now trying to make a run on the inside. It is going to be Calatoni.
Calatoni, what a move.
What an impressive run. The 84, our pole sitter here tonight. The Talking Giants are going crazy. Anthony Calatoni going to be Scourge or winner. Kyle Trudell had a run there going, but it got squeezed out, got moved up, and he's going to finish P2. Tyler Dalton is going to finish 3rd here tonight at Echo Park. What a race ending there. An exciting one in the books. We're going to step aside, bring you some post-race coverage. You're watching Turn 1 as the 84 burns it down here at Echo Park. As we get ready to call it a wraps here tonight, we're going to kick it over to Kevin to talk to Tyler Dalton, who brought home a 3rd place finish. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm here with Tyler Dalton. Tyler, third place finish tonight, and I'm bet you guys are worn out. What a race! A lot of different strategy changes, incidents, and so on. And at the end, it was just an elbows out brawl to the finish.
Yeah, to be honest, I was hoping after that long green flag run we were going to stay green there. I was going to be happy to finish just riding in fifth. Uh, don't know how I finished third. Hope we never run this setup in track combo again because I'm not sure y'all could tell, but it was bottoming out really bad and I think it was just killing the outside line. So early on, I think we all figured out if you went to the top, you really just were going backwards. So it was just a race to the bottom, unfortunately. So we had a nice little charity parade there for a good bit of the race. But I'll take third onto Dover, and I'm just happy to have to actually survive one of these.
You could see the car bottoming out, especially off of turn number 2. It did look like if you could get organized on the top, you could make a run as everything bottled up down on the bottom. But in the end, coming off of turn 3, you got a front row show of the move that the 84 put on to the win. And take us through. I have a key question for you. We saw you change 4 tires, which was a surprise. Usually tires not that big of a factor here. Tell us about the grip level and how that played in the last 10 laps.
Here's a little secret. I took 2 tires the last caution, so I was
I saw 4.
Yeah, I was in a little bit of a pickle there. But yeah, when you had guys up there that were on 60-lap-old tires that were able to maintain, that just shows you it couldn't do much. It was frustrating. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a hard race. It was just frustrating because you couldn't go anywhere. I don't know if it's just the splitter was digging in, but it would feel like the top would get a run on the backstretch, but the bottom was just faster everywhere else around the track. The only time the top made a move all race, I think, was when Jose and Chad got by me and Bobby, but that's because Bobby got loose, I got loose, and Bobby was saving some fuel.
Yeah, it looked like the cars were dancing around quite a bit, especially on the exit of the corner. Was it a handful, especially as tire wear went on?
It was if you got on the top. On the bottom, it was okay. It was a little sketchy when we were on 2 tires on the bottom there, but nothing major. But I do know just from running in practice and stuff and seeing some guys lose it up top that if you were trying to run the top, it was gonna probably spin out on you. It was definitely wearing the right rear pretty hard.
Well, it sounds like you guys had your hands full. A third place finish to come back and start the second half of the season. Not a bad way to go. It's been an interesting season for you so far, and that's got to feel good. Let's give a shout out to anybody you want to say hello to.
Yeah, I just want to thank WBD Diecast, Trans Service, Cooks Landscaping, just all the good sponsors here at SIM500. Been a good season so far. Hadn't won, but been nice and consistent. Hopefully we can get that win at some point during the season, but just been banking on consistency.
Yeah, well, I know that it's been a 2-week break, and you guys, you never take a break. You ran the 87 race, which was a lot of fun to watch, and it seems like you're racing all the time, and it's got to feel good to get some decent finishes under your belt here to start the second half of the season. Congratulations on the third place, Tyler.
Thank you, and congrats to my teammate Anthony for getting a win. Great job for him, and great job on the pole as well.
There you go, Tyler Dalton, your third place finisher. We're going to turn it over to Sean, who's caught up with Kyle Trudell, who finished second here tonight.
Hey, Kyle, listen, first time back in the seat in a hot minute, at least in this Cup Series in that 7 machine. It looked like you had a strong car there towards the end. Let's reflect through this race. We heard Tyler Dalton mention how difficult these cars were to wheel around the racetrack. What was your experience and kind of getting back acquainted with this sporty Echo Park Raceway?
Yeah, definitely in the track. I mean, right away, in practice laps, the car felt good, like it had a lot of bite, and that it was really in the track. So, another track that showcases the changes in the car, and I think it was to everybody's benefit. We can drive the cars, but definitely great to be back. Yeah, was off for a couple of weeks there, and hopefully we'll have some good runs here to come.
It certainly looked like you could put something together. And Kyle, we saw that last lap come to fruition, and a lot of mixed tire strategies up there. What, in reflection, would you have liked to have done a little bit differently there to maybe bring home this checkered flag?
Maybe taking 4, because I did just take left sides when we all last pitted. I just figured I wanted the track position, so no matter what, I was going to take 2 tires, just to hopefully, as the race winds down like that, we all know what happens. And ultimately, the 2 tires, I felt like, well, I was happy with it. I just needed to hold on that last lap. It was a little free there, especially with Anthony pushing me, into 3. He was doing everything that he's supposed to do. He didn't do anything wrong at all. I just gave up the bottom there. I should have obviously stuck it to the red and yellow or white line, but it was a little bit free, so it walked up on me. I was kind of checking my mirror just to see what the top was doing, and right in that moment I left him enough room to get to my inside, and then I just didn't want to get pitted. I was looking for a little block, but hopefully just to slow his momentum. Not really. I knew he was already there, so was kind of counting on maybe if there was some momentum on the top, then I could just carry it enough, open up the wheel out of 4, and hopefully just be side by side and get the nose, but he got it instead.
Well, Kyle, listen, congratulations coming back to a decent finish here tonight, leading some laps and bringing home the victory, bringing home the P2 position here at Atlanta. Thanks for the time and have a great evening.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks everybody for coming out.
Kyle Trudell, P2 here tonight at Atlanta. And with that, we'll head it on over to Kevin England to talk with our race winner, Anthony Calatoni.
Yeah, Jersey guy to Jersey guy, Anthony Calatoni. How good does this feel to get the win here tonight?
Kevin, after the season that I have been having, it feels awesome. It feels like a shot of revival back into the veins. I'm not going to say perfect race because it wasn't a perfect race at all, but second pole for I got the first one at Kansas. Now 2 poles in 1 year and backed it up with the win. This was a good race night tonight.
Take us through that final lap, and I want to know, was it 2 tires or 4 on that last pit stop?
I took 4. I was thinking about taking 2, but I chickened out and I clicked the lefts back on, and I said I'm going to lay in my bed here if it's the wrong call, and it worked out. That in that final lap, I was going to go to Kyle's outside, but then I saw him move up a little bit, and then I jolted back down in front of Tyler, and I just went in there pushing Kyle. I did what I had to do. I tried to do it as clean as possible, and I think I did. I moved him, wiggled him up the track a little bit, and I stuck her in there, and it was the drag race to the line at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that is the tactic, to shove them down into the corner, see if you can get them up into the corner and open the lane, and you did it. The question I have for you is, as you came off of turn 4 and you looked out the right side mirror, did you think you had enough?
I don't think I was there coming off of 4, and then I looked over, and I don't even remember if I moved up a little bit. I think I moved up a little bit to him, got close to that left rear, and then I think I jolted back down a little bit close and to hug the little dog leg there with the red line. But the car didn't feel like I had the momentum to pass him, and then all of a sudden, I think maybe Tyler got a little closer to me, and I felt the RPMs increase, and then it just drove past him, and I didn't even know I got it. To be honest with you, my little scream, my relative took forever. It took like till turn 1 for me to tell me that I was first place. And I said, did I get it? I'm like, I don't know. And then it switched, and then I started screaming and everything.
It was by a bumper, really. When you go back and look at it, you'll realize how close it was. You were really only just the nose of the car beat him to the line. And you're right, as I go back and look at it, you were to the number, I think, out of turn 4, and it's really those last 100 feet that you closed and moved on past. And well, talking Giants Chevrolet, wins the pole, wins the race. Couldn't write a better script, and what a good way to start the second half of the season. Congratulations, Anthony. How about a shout out? Anything else you want to tell us about tonight's race?
You couldn't have said it any better, Kevin. What a way to start the second half of the season. It's like a season reset, some bonus points going into the playoffs. What a way to start off Dover week, heading down to Dover on Friday. Couldn't have started the week any better. But I'm ecstatic to finally get this car back in victory lane for the Talk of Giants crew, for the John Boy Media, the Rebuilding Warriors program, the Elks organizations, just everyone who I saw comment on the videos, who watch every week. Cook's Landscaping for the sponsorship. This is my first interview. I don't even know who to thank, really. We couldn't do this without Cook's with the sponsorship. Sean with the broadcast, and you in here helping him and doing a fantastic job. And just and the SIM500 Misfits team. I couldn't have really done that without Tyler. He really gave me some good pushes there, and the rest of the team helped me throughout the rest of the race with some good information. But just everyone who's a part of this league and everything that everyone does, it's as you know, Kevin, it's a little aggravating sometimes, but we're one family, and there's a little aggravation in some family, and we have a great group of guys here. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment. You know what? A win resets everything. You could wipe the slate clean and go chase him. You've had speed at different races, but consistency and luck has not been in your way, and maybe this resets it for you. Congratulations. Go celebrate the win. Have a blast at Dover, and we'll see you next week when we come back to the Dover Speedway. Maybe you can learn a little something watching the race and parlay it into win number 2.
We're going to try. I'm going to have the binoculars in section 222 there in turn 1 and watching them how they drive it into turn 1. So we're going to try and learn something.
There you go. Winner tonight, Anthony Calantoni for the reset of the season, Echo Park. He is your winner over Kyle Trudell. And I have to say, Sean, that was exciting. I thought that it would be a steaming pile of race cars coming across the start-finish line. To see him slide up underneath and come and get the victory, I don't know what else you could want from a racetrack.
I don't think so. I don't think we want for anything. The 84 pulled off a perfect move there. And I don't know if if the 7 didn't have to slide up just a little bit, take his concentration off, maybe look for that run. I don't, this could have been anybody's race. And ultimately, Anthony Calantoni was in the right place at the right time. And all those pieces we talked about throughout the race came together. You got to be there at the end to win. Anthony Calantoni was there to win. You got to have a little bit of luck on your side. Well, the 7 car slid up, and he was able to take that spot, and it was tight all the way through that start-finish line. When it came out of the halfway shoot between the 4 and the start-finish line, I would have said the 7 had it. But ultimately, Calantoni able to pull it off here tonight at Echo Park. Wrapping up another fantastic Cook's Landscape Group Cup Series race here on Monday night. Kevin, any final thoughts as we get ready to head off over to Dover this next Monday night?
The only thing I say is we knew from the complexion of the restart that we were going to have a new winner here tonight, and it's always nice to see somebody who's had a bit of a struggle in the season get a win to rejuvenate them. And I've got to give a nod to Kyle Trudell. He ran an outstanding race. So did Tyler Dalton, and Mr. Speedway, Richard Beasley, top 5, and Jose Gonzalez, he's got nothing to hang his hat on from a win standpoint, but had a solid race all night, and he came away with the top 5. So I thought it was a deserving finish for all those drivers, and it was a fun race to watch.
Tomorrow night here on Turn 1, we pick up the Downforce Racing Series right here as they continue on their Tuesday night haul in the Cup cars. Their season starting to come to a close, and then Sunday night, the Sunday Night Surge Group picks back up at 9 Eastern, 8 Central here on Turn 1 Broadcasting. On behalf of the league admins, that was Kevin England. I'm Sean Fitz. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time for more racing action. Bye-bye, everybody.